Hello, folks. So we're going to talk about site planning today. So again, like I've reiterated many times, a website has to be something that is very, very organized. Has to know exactly what's going to be putting in place, all the type of materials that you're going to be using, and content, and all that kind of stuff. It has to be planned ahead. All right. So planning for a site is critical when you are working with the certain website projects. So the project planning is the phases of this process can include research and discovery, content inventory, site mapping, wireframing, usability mapping, prototyping, and design concepting. All right, so a lot of research that kind of goes into play is figuring out what the company is, what kind of content they're going to be putting in, what kind of imagery do you have, all that type of stuff that you have to understand the client. This goes for graphic design as well. You have to understand what the client is doing in their company and who's their audience and all this type of stuff. So you have to develop a plan with research into clients' goals. All right, what do they want to do with the site? What are they looking at doing? What audience are they reaching out to? All that kind of stuff. All right. So there is what is called a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it's like strengths, what does your website do well? All right. And weaknesses, what could your site improve on? Or opportunities, what web trends do you see around you and how could they take advantage of them? You know, things that are out there that you have may be these new things that are going out that are being taken place, trends and stuff. So threats, what obstacles do you personally or a website face? All right. So sometimes it's like there are some certain elements, like maybe a domain name is not available, and it could be miscategorized by people going to it. So you have to understand that stuff. All right. Who your competition is, all those different types of things. All right, asset inventory. Project assets like client logo, copy, images, code libraries must all be identified and located. All right, what is it going to use? All right, are we using WordPress? Are we using any other content management system? Are we building it from scratch? Is it something that they can do on Wix or Weebly or Squarespace or whatever other site programs that's out there that can build sites for you? All right, what kind of assets do you have? File organization and naming. This is actually a very important element because to name a file, you have to include possible keywords. Keywords in a file. Also, no spaces, either dashes or underscores for spaces. So file names actually become very, very important, especially when it comes to SEO, which we'll talk about in another video. But you have to understand when you name something, you have to name it. Organization is critical when you're trying to organize for a site, especially if you're creating it from scratch. The organization of the files that are being used have to be organized in such a way where it's easy to go with, right? All right, site maps is the informational architecture phase of a site project. Usually starts with the development of a comprehensive site map. So like most site maps like this, it's like show up as home, and then it leads to like community profiles and business resources and properties, maps, newsrooms, and about us. But then from there, it actually breaks off into other things. So that is what a site map does. All right, it kind of like breaks down all the pages and where people are to go for certain information. Then we create wireframes, which we've talked about this before, is blueprints that map out individual pages. So it's like a wireframe is just a blocked element of this particular site. So you kind of see all the gray boxes that kind of like form a skeletal view of the site, like so. Usability diagrams is user flow diagrams combine both sitemap and wireframe to plan out a specific action a user might take. think we talked about this before. A usability diagram, again, is not necessarily a sitemap, where in this case it is. However, there are these dotted elements that actually go to certain things. So it's where how is the person using the site becomes critical. Prototypes, which is what we're using with Adobe XD, is like creating a prototype as a quick working model of site features or functionality that help a developer and a designer work out the final details and provide proof of concept. So it's like creating a prototype of the site, get it working in such a way. But in what Adobe XD does, it actually provides you the opportunity to create something very quickly as far as a prototype goes, so that a developer can kind of like work on getting that working from there. All right. So like prototyping is kind of like creating this sketch, which then creates this like sitemap that may be a working sitemap that leads to the final design. And concept designs, which are final pre-design step for most designers, is the concept phase. Designers might create a mood board. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll create a mood board, which will choose out colors and images and fonts and all this kind of stuff to get an overall feel for how the site is going to look and be laid out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop right there, and I will see you in the next video.